Have you ever reacted strongly in a relationship and later wondered why it felt bigger than the moment itself? Sometimes the way we love is not shaped only by the person in front of us. It can also be shaped by what we learned much earlier about safety, attention, rejection, and trust. In this video, we will look at how childhood wounds can influence love, why these patterns appear, and how to understand them in a healthier way. Welcome to Love for Beginners. Today, we're exploring a question that stands behind almost every human experience: childhood wounds that shape love. And what happens when this part of life becomes confusing, missing, or difficult to understand? Let's get into it. Childhood does not decide everything about a person's future. People can grow, change, heal, and build healthy relationships even after difficult early experiences. But childhood does matter. It is the first place where people usually learn what closeness feels like, whether emotions are safe to express, and whether other people can be trusted. These early lessons can quietly shape the way someone attaches, chooses, communicates, and protects themselves in love. A childhood wound is not always one big event. Sometimes it is a repeated emotional experience. It can come from feeling ignored, criticized, rejected, unseen, controlled, or unsupported for a long time. It can also come from growing up around instability, emotional distance, or unpredictable care. The wound is not only about what happened, it is also about what the child learned from it. A child may learn, my needs are too much, people leave, I have to be perfect, or it is safer not to trust. One of the most important ideas in relationship psychology is attachment. Attachment describes the emotional bond children form with caregivers and how that bond can influence later relationships. When children receive consistent care, comfort, and attention, they are more likely to develop a basic sense that relationships can be safe. When care is inconsistent, distant, frightening, or emotionally unavailable, the child may learn to manage closeness through anxiety, avoidance, or self-protection. This does not mean every person fits neatly into one category. Human beings are more complex than labels. But attachment patterns can help explain why love feels different for different people. Some people feel anxious when someone becomes distant, even for a short time. Some people feel uncomfortable when someone gets too close. Some people want connection deeply, but do not know how to relax inside it. These reactions often make more sense when we understand the emotional lessons they may have learned earlier in life. One childhood wound that shapes love is emotional neglect. Emotional neglect does not always mean a child had no food, home, or basic care. It can mean their feelings were not noticed, understood, or responded to. A child who grows up feeling emotionally alone may become an adult who struggles to name their needs. They may say they are fine when they are not. They may avoid asking for comfort because they learned not to expect it. In relationships, this can create distance even when love is present. Another wound comes from inconsistent attention. If care was sometimes warm and sometimes unavailable, a child may learn to stay alert. As an adult, this can show up as overthinking. A delayed message, a quiet mood, or a small change in tone may feel much larger than it is. The person may look for signs that something is wrong because their nervous system learned early that connection can change without warning. This does not make them dramatic. It means uncertainty feels emotionally familiar and unsafe at the same time. Harsh criticism can also shape love. When a child is often judged, compared, mocked, or made to feel not good enough, they may grow up with a sensitive inner critic. In relationships, kindness may feel hard to trust. Compliments may be dismissed. Mistakes may feel dangerous. Instead of feeling secure, the person may feel they must perform to be loved. They may try to be perfect, helpful, attractive, successful, or easygoing because deep down they fear that being themselves is not enough. Another common pattern comes from growing up where emotions were not welcomed. Some children learn that crying, anger, fear, or sadness will be punished, ignored, or used against them. Later, they may struggle with emotional expression. They may shut down during conflict, avoid difficult conversations, or become uncomfortable when a partner shares strong feelings. This is not because they do not care. Often, it is because emotions were never taught as something safe and manageable. A child who had to take on too much responsibility early may also bring that pattern into love. Some children become emotionally responsible for the mood of the home. They may learn to calm others, avoid conflict, or keep everyone comfortable. In adulthood, this can turn into people-pleasing. The person may focus so much on another person's needs that they lose contact with their own. They may confuse being needed with being loved. Over time, this can lead to exhaustion and resentment. Another childhood wound is feeling rejected or abandoned. This can happen through loss, separation, emotional distance, or repeated experiences of being pushed away. In adult relationships, this wound can create a strong fear of being left. The person may need frequent reassurance, feel hurt by small signs of distance, or stay in unhealthy situations because separation feels too painful. The fear is not always about the present moment. Sometimes the present moment touches an older feeling. Some people protect themselves in the opposite way. Instead of holding on tightly, they keep distance. If closeness once felt unsafe, controlled, or disappointing, independence may become a shield. They may avoid deep conversations, pull away when feelings grow, or tell themselves they do not need anyone. Independence can be healthy, but emotional avoidance can prevent real connection. A person can want love and still feel threatened by the vulnerability that love requires. Childhood wounds also influence who people choose. A person may be drawn to what feels familiar, even if it is not healthy. Familiar does not always mean good. It means the mind recognizes the pattern. Someone who grew up chasing attention may later feel drawn to emotionally unavailable people. Someone who learned to earn approval may choose relationships where they keep proving themselves. This is not a conscious decision in many cases. It is often a pattern that becomes clearer only with reflection. These wounds can also shape how people interpret conflict. In a healthy relationship, disagreement does not have to mean rejection. But for someone with old emotional wounds, conflict can feel threatening. A simple conversation may feel like abandonment, failure, or danger. This can lead to shutting down, becoming defensive, apologizing too quickly, or trying to control the outcome. The goal is not to avoid all conflict. The goal is to learn that respectful conflict can be handled without losing safety. It is important to say this clearly. Understanding childhood wounds is not about blaming parents or caregivers for everything. Many caregivers did the best they could with what they knew, and many families carry stress, culture, pressure, or unresolved pain across generations. But understanding is still necessary. You can recognize where a pattern came from without using it as an excuse to hurt others. Awareness gives you a chance to respond differently. Healing does not usually happen all at once. It often begins with noticing. Notice when your reaction feels bigger than the situation. Notice when you are afraid to ask for what you need. Notice when you are choosing familiar pain instead of healthy connection. Notice when you push away kindness because it feels uncomfortable. These moments are not proof that something is wrong with you. They are information. Healthy love requires both connection and self-awareness. A partner, friend, or loved one can support you, but they cannot rewrite your entire emotional history for you. Growth often means learning new skills, naming your feelings, Setting boundaries, communicating clearly, tolerating closeness, and recognizing when fear is speaking louder than reality. For some people, support from a counselor, therapist, or trusted adult can also be helpful, especially when old patterns feel hard to manage alone. The hopeful truth is that childhood wounds can shape love, but they do not have to control it forever. The brain and emotions can learn new patterns through safe relationships, honest reflection, and consistent practice. A person who once feared abandonment can learn stability. A person who avoided closeness can learn trust. A person who felt unworthy can learn to receive care without immediately doubting it. So, when we ask how childhood wounds shape love, the answer is not simple, but it is understandable. They shape what feels safe, what feels familiar, what feels threatening, and what we believe we deserve. They influence how we attach, choose, protect ourselves, and communicate. But once these patterns become visible, they become easier to work with. Love becomes healthier when we stop reacting only from old pain and start choosing from awareness. Thank you for watching Love for Beginners. Every relationship starts with understanding, both ourselves and the people around us. If you want to explore more topics like this, support the channel by subscribing and leaving a like. Until next time.